Rarin. Oh, buddy, the time has finally come. We are going to complete your knowledge of Yu-Gi-Oh! With the final summoning mechanic, Link Monsters. Do you know anything about Link Monsters?
Hold on. Nope.
Good. This is gonna be a good video.
Wait,
all right.
Wait, hold on. Go through all the other ones. There's Synchro.
Okay.
XEs or whatever you call it.
XEs, yeah. Okay.
Pendulum, if that's one. Hold on. What's the last one?
Link Monsters. That's it.
There's only 4?
You named all the rest. There's only 4. I mean, technically there's Fusion and Ritual, but those aren't in the extra deck. So like that's all Fusion is. So you got that one. Whatever.
I was thinking I swear to God, there was another one. Okay.
So Link Monsters. Link Monsters are the newest summoning mechanic added to Yu-Gi-Oh! And fortunately for you, I believe this is actually the easiest mechanic to grasp, at least fundamentally. So I'm going to start by showing you one of the most basic Link Monsters possible. Give this guy a read. Okay.
No, hold on. You can't say that without me messing this up. So I got to be very careful here. What the fuck is this name, man? Oh my God.
Give it a try.
Okay, well, the first part of it is land. So land for Hinchus.
There you go. Lamphorlincus, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, we don't even know how to pronounce this card's name. So, this is a Link monster. This might look a bit different compared to other Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters, but compared to other summoning mechanics, this one is the most basic. You remember with like synchro summoning, how you just take 2 monsters as long as one of them's a tuner and you make a thing.
Yes.
Right? Or with fusion summoning, you play a fusion card, you take 2 or more things, make a thing, right? Well, Link monsters, you can just, whatever the requirement is in the instance of Lamphorlincus, it's 2 monsters. So literally just any 2 monsters, send them to the graveyard, you get to play this guy. Makes sense, right? Pretty simple.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it?
So that's for the most part, that's it. Now, what's interesting is that you might notice that there are some arrows lit up here in the bottom left and the bottom right corner here. So in Yu-Gi-Oh!, we have what's known as the extra monster zone. This is where Link monsters have to be summoned to unless there is an arrow pointing to a different zone for you to summon a monster to that zone. Does that make sense?
Kind of. Sorry, I'm having like a flashback here. Is this the monsters that like sit in the middle of the board? Like, am I thinking
that?
Yeah,
like okay. There's those 2 zones that like you share. Yes, that's where these go. That's where these go. Okay, so you sort of remember. From your small time playing Master Duel.
Yeah, I feel like playing maybe not Sword Soul, but maybe some other deck once. Like I do remember using the middle slot, but I don't think I actually used like the arrows with it.
Depending on the type of deck that you're playing, you may or may not need to actually use them because now with Master Rule 5, you're able to summon stuff from the extra deck to any zone, including the extra monster zone. So that's your synchros, your Xyz monsters, your fusion monsters, whatever. Before, in Master Rule 4, you had to summon a Link monster first and then summon a fusion, synchro, Xyz, whatever from the extra deck to an arrow that it points to, or just summon it straight to the extra monster zone, but then you can't summon more things. So they basically like forced people to play Link monsters so that they could sell their cards and like, you know, make actually like a shit ton of money.
That makes sense. I don't blame them.
It makes sense. I will quickly show you the game board just so you fully understand this mechanic here. So here's the game board, the new game board here. And it is very nice. It points out the extra monster zone for you. So as you can see, the extra monster zones occupy the 2nd and the 4th column. Because remember, in Yu-Gi-Oh! We only have 5 zones to play our monsters, right? Compared to your 7, I believe. So in the instance of this Lamphorlincus, if you were to summon that in the extra monster zone, you could then summon more Link monsters to either the middle column or either the far left or far right, depending on where you put the Lamphorlincus. So playing a Link monster lets you play more Link monsters, essentially. Or you can just keep climbing up and like building, more building blocks on top of it. We'll get to that later.
Quick question. If I have land already on board, do I need to sacrifice 2 other monsters to play the next Link monster? Or because I already have a Link monster in play, I don't need to do that?
What a great question. So let's say you were going to Link summon a second Lamphorlincus, right? Yeah. If you had 2 other monsters in addition to the Lamphorlincus, you could link those off and summon the second Lamphorlincus to a zone that the first one is pointing towards. Alternatively, you could take 1 monster and the Lamphorlincus and link those off into the second Lamphorlincus that you just put in the extra monster zone again.
Okay. I am having flashbacks of a deck where I did this, but I literally couldn't tell you what it was.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I'm locked in.
He's locked in. So the last part here is you need to look at in the bottom right corner, next to where it says attack, it has the link number. So the link rating here is how many, the collective amount of link material in order to summon a monster. So for instance, with Lampherlinkus, any 2 monsters, each of those equals 1 link material. So 1 + 1 = 2. That's how you get for Lampherlinkus. That link rating can increase. So for instance, if you wanted to summon a link 3 monster, you need to have either 3 of any type of monster, or you could have a link to Lampherlinkus and any other monster, which would be 1 material. That makes 3, and then you can like upgrade from there.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So you're just adding up the numbers. You're adding up the numbers. So your objective is I'm going to show you some of these link monsters. I picked some ones that are somewhat easy to evaluate in a vacuum because some of them are very specific to particular decks. And your goal is to decide whether or not any of these cards were so good that they had to be banned. And so here is your first card.
Okay, they had to be banned. Okay. Oh my god, these names, man, I can't. Linkuriboh?
Linkuriboh. So if you remember Kuriboh from the anime, you watch the anime.
You're right.
This is like a retrain of it. It's Linkuriboh.
He's like a, what is he, a bomb? I guess so.
He's a little cute guy is what he is.
Okay, so Link 1. So okay, I'm just gonna say it once, just so I'm on the same thing here. You get rid of 1 monster to summon this.
Correct. This is a Link 1. So you need any monster. It could be a monster. It could be a Link monster of a higher rating, but it has to meet the requirement of a level 1 monster. It's here. It says level 1 monster as a Link rating of 1.
These have to be on board for you to sacrifice it? I don't know if you said that.
They have to be on board, and they have to be face up specifically.
Okay.
You cannot Link summon with face down monsters.
Okay.
But that's similar to Synchro and Xyz, if you recall. That's
yeah. I was just double checking. Like, you can't just cheese this with the deck and like just get these off like really easily. Okay. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you attribute this card. Change the opponent's monster's attack to 0 until the end of this turn. If this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you contribute 1 level 1 monster. Special summon this card. You can only use this effect of Linkuriboh. What did you say? Linkuriboh?
Linkuriboh.
Once per turn. You can only use it once per turn. Okay, so like you sacrifice this, your opponent doesn't have any more attack. This goes in your graveyard, and then you could get this back on board as long as you have 1 level 1 monster. How good is that? Okay, in Hearthstone terms, I could sacrifice a minion, but sacrifice this to stop an opponent from attacking with a minion and then get it back or something, sacrificing something else.
Well, keep in mind, the attack goes to 0. So, like, in the Hearthstone example, if they, like, crashed into your guy, they would do no damage to you, but you'd still do damage back to them.
Yeah, you're, like, killing their monster in a sense.
Basically. Yeah, basically.
That's how it works. Wait. If you attack into your opponent, but you lose, does your monster die, or do you just take the damage? I actually don't remember.
Well, both. It's both.
Oh, you will? Okay, it is both. Okay. So you could kill this to basically kill one of your opponent's minions.
In battle.
If you're... Well, yeah, in battle. Sorry, that made me think of when I say like, oh, I want to die, I have to say like in Minecraft on Twitch because it's against terms and conditions. So like that was like what you just said, like in battle.
That's funny.
Okay, this is like a pretty good recurring effect, and I feel like if you build towards this, it's very easily achievable to stop your opponent from playing the game. I don't know. Okay, like when did Link monsters come out?
They came out. Ooh, what a great question. I want to say 20. When did... Hold on. I actually don't remember.
You're good.
When did Code of the Duelist release? Code of the Duelist, which is the set that introduced Link monsters. 2017. I was right. I was thinking 2017, but I thought it could have been 2018. So August of 2017. So it is 8 years old now, which is I feel very old now that I realize Link monsters are 8 years old. That's incredible.
Was this one of the first Link monsters in the game as well? I'm just trying to get context of like how powerful it is to stop your opponent from basically attacking.
This was, yeah, it was sort of one of the first. It wasn't like immediately one of the first, but it was within like the first year or two this card came out. And we're going to go like chronologically in terms of, for the most part. So this one, yeah, this is like first or second year this card came out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to think about in my mind how good this is, because your opponent, in other words, what this card basically says is like, don't attack if this is on board. Like if you don't have a way to stop this effect, like you are gonna get absolutely clapped, and I feel like you just never want to attack if that is the case. Which means like if the board mattered a lot in attacking with your minions, your monsters mattered a lot, this is obviously very good, and it kind of puts your opponent in this weird spot where like they need to be able to deal with this, or they need to have multiple monsters that can swing because you can only use this once per turn. So it's like a weird game. Like I feel like in Hearthstone, this is like pretty good because we care about the board a lot. It seems like a lot more than Yu-Gi-Oh does. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't know if is this really good enough? It's really intriguing. I want to say it's probably fine. I don't know about ban. I think it's just good. Like it's probably like I don't even know what I call it good. Like sure, like it's probably just like a good monster if you really want to play with that. I don't think it was banned. Surely. Final answer.
All right, so Linkuriboh, again, one of the first monsters, actually one of the first Link 1 monsters that was fairly generic. You might see, like, similar to other summoning mechanics later on, it'll say, oh, you need Earth monsters or something like that. But this just needed any level 1 monster. Turns out there's a lot of really good / broken level 1 monsters in the game that you can go summon level 1 monster, Link summon into Linkuriboh. That level 1 monster has some effect that like brings itself back out to the board or brings out something from your deck or something like that. And now you can immediately start climbing into a Link 2 monster or do some other plays. And Linkuriboh was basically the best card at doing this. So much so that Linkuriboh's banned, if you can believe that. It's banned, yes. The ability to protect from an attack is somewhat relevant. There are instances where that does come up, but for the most part, it's just the fact that it can get level 1 monsters immediately to the graveyard to trigger their graveyard effect to like start comboing off is really why this card is so busted. But yeah, it's banned. They actually banned it.
Interesting. Okay.
A year or two ago, I want to say. It was pretty recent, relatively speaking. But yeah, it's banned. It's probably not going to come off anytime soon, I'll be honest. But early on, it was a very, very good card. But as the game aged, it got more and more powerful, and so they actually had to ban it, which is insane.
Yeah, I'm actually
little cute guy.
I don't know. Like in Hearthstone, like the way that I almost translate this is like, give your minion Divine Shield is how I'm gonna like think about it. And that sounds like it would be good, but like not like insane when they would have to nerf it. But in Hearthstone, obviously, I'm not thinking about how easy it is to destroy something. I'm just thinking about like how good is the Divine Shield on average every single turn. Banned because you can kill a minion every single turn is that good? That's crazy.
Well, it's not really the first effect that matters. Like, the first effect is good, don't get me wrong, because we're talking about two separate effects here. Like, we're just talking about mainly linking off a Link 1 monster to get it into the graveyard to trigger the effect to, like, start doing, like, more crazy things, essentially. Like, there's no other, like, efficient way to do that other than just Link summoning into a Linkuriboh.
Interesting.
So that I think that's, like, the big difference there. For sure,
I feel like they probably designed this card thinking it was going to be very innocent then, because that's how I read it. It doesn't seem like a very egregious card.
Yeah, it's funny. It was you know how Yu-Gi-Oh releases cards in like weird ways. This was actually a promo from a manga, as a matter of fact, at first. So it was actually like $30 to $40 to get this because it was like not easy to get at first. Okay. Then they reprinted it and it was a lot easier to get. But even early on, it wasn't like super oppressive or anything. It was just like a good card. And it was one of the first Link 1s that let you just get stuff off the field immediately to start playing. And that was very good at the time. And now there's a lot of those. And funny enough, a lot of those get banned too. But we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about something a lot more Yu-Gi-Oh looking. Give this guy a read.
Okay, hold on. I got to go back now because there's something. So they have printed other effects like Link, but then they just keep rebanning it because the effect is just too good.
Yeah, they might make like a Linkuriboh for a specific archetype, and then that's like too good, so they ban it. There's like 5 different archetype-specific Linkuribohs that are like banned. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So they thought that the more like specific version of this would be more balanced, but then it turns out it's just the same effect because that's all the archetype needs. Okay, really interesting.
Yeah, there's a running joke that anytime an archetype gets a Link 1, it immediately breaks the archetype, and they have to ban it, and that's happened multiple times. So it's very funny.
Ever told you the definition of insanity? Like that's what it is. Okay, what do we got here? Borreload Dragon? What is this thing?
We got to get some cool looking anime guys in here.
Okay, let me read this. Okay, 3 effect monsters. So let me just verify this. It has to be a monster with an effect. Why does it say 4 though? Or 3 plus effect monsters?
Correct. So you need a total of Link 4 rating. So if you have, let's say, that Lampherlinkus, that counts as 2. And if you have 2 other monsters that are not Link monsters, those each count as 1 Link material. So 2 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. That's how you can do this with 3 monsters. But you could also do 4 non-Link monsters because each one counts for 1 material.
Okay, and I'm just to clarify, I'm imagining like effect monsters are like literally with anything with like a text.
Everything. Okay. Literally everything. Yep. As long as it's not a vanilla card that has no effect, which hardly they don't see played, or a token, for instance. Like that would also not be an effect monster.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Either player can target this card with monster effects. Once per turn quick effect, you can target one face-up monster on the field. It loses 500 attack/defense. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this activation. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can place that opponent's monster in a zone this card points to and take control of it, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase of next turn.
So remember, if you look at the board, Borreload Dragon will be pointing, if it's in the extra monster zone, it'll be pointing to the middle column or either the far left or the far right, depending on where you place it. So if you attack with Borreload Dragon into an opposing monster, you can then take their monster and put it into a zone that he's pointing towards, either bottom left or bottom right in this basic example, and take control of it until the end of the next turn. Pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, you say pretty cool, but isn't that like disgusting?
You tell me. You tell me.
Your player can target this card with monster effects. It's already just a good line of text.
That's a good line of text. I will agree.
Once per turn, quick effect, you can target one face-up monster in the field that loses 500 attack and defense. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this activation. Okay, that's kind of whatever. Is the quick effect also continuing to like at the start of the damage step as well, or is it like the end of the activation?
No, it's like, only that's a separate effect. So because he can only do that when he attacks. It's not if he gets attacked.
Okay. At the start of your damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can place his opponent's monster. Okay, so you basically this comes down to is how good is the like you're probably attacking. This also 3,000. Your opponent probably has to defend this because they can't use monster effects, which means they need a spell or trap card to immediately answer this card. This is like a lot of resources, I feel like, but maybe I'm overvaluing how like how many resources it actually is. It's really interesting because like in Hearthstone and Magic, you don't have this like weird sacrifice mechanic. So like translating over to like 4 effect monsters is extremely interesting.
Right. So you would have to take in Hearthstone 4 of your monsters, like they go off the board, but that could possibly include things that were like summoned to the field for free, right? Like in Hearthstone, you have abilities that are like, oh, summon 3, guys, right? And if they have effects, then they would be qualified to be, slotted into a Borreload Dragon in that case. So there are ways to cheat material onto the field that like might be bad, but when you link off into a Borreload Dragon, it's actually pretty good.
So you're saying in Yu-Gi-Oh that is possible where you can easily get this. That is probably the biggest asterisk of this entire thing is because some of these monsters are very good, but how likely are you to get 4 effect monsters, right? Like that's probably the biggest thing because it's like mana cost in Hearthstone, right? Like if a card is 20 mana, you're not playing it, but if it's 4, it's fucking insane. So
we're talking Yu-Gi-Oh 2, right? So it's not hard for you to get multiple effect monsters onto the field. And again, they don't have to be good, right? Because if you're just using them to link up into something like a Borreload Dragon, they can be just like bad cards that just give you guys to go into a bigger thing at the end of the day.
Okay, I'm also going to just picture this as better than Link. So you're telling me that the reason why this is so good is because you can constantly get stuff in your graveyard. This doesn't have necessarily the same effect, but stealing one of your opponent's monsters is very good. And that means when you attack, the damage doesn't actually go through because you're stealing the minion like before that would go off. So like you never have to worry about this actually dying in some kind of combat.
Correct. Yes. Okay. If you choose to activate the effect. Yeah. If you want to swing at your opponent's face for 3,000, or if you want to guarantee kill something, you can choose to activate that effect or not. It's not mandatory. So if you want to kill it, you can kill it. If you want to steal it, you can steal it.
That is what a weird like why God, I don't banned? Jesus Christ. The first line of text makes me think that this could be easily bannable, but I was so God, I hate getting the first card wrong. The first card wrong is just the biggest blow to your confidence, man. Because you're so like if you get the first one right, your confidence like I got this. Oh God, is that
you're
really
gonna be like
good?
They banned Linkuriboh but not banned Borreload Dragon?
That's what I'm saying though. But like legitimately, if Link must be a way of like cheating out your minion in the graveyard, which means that your effects can start proccing and then it's just insane. This is not necessarily the same thing. This is much more like combat mechanics, which is like important in Yu-Gi-Oh, but we've done enough of these videos.
You're still sending the material to the graveyard to link summon this. So like any graveyard effects still trigger if it has like if this card is sent to the graveyard.
Okay, so
text on it.
See, that brings up a different question then. So you could just say like with all link monsters, just because you could sacrifice them, they're just objectively just good, right? So then the question is how good is that mechanic?
That is why people like this mechanic, because it's not as limiting as the other mechanics. Because it's like, as long as it's like an effect monster, or with Lamprolincus, it's any monster, you could just use anything. And so that really opens the door of possibilities. And also why be why these cards are, you know, really fucking good, and a bunch of them had to be banned. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I wasn't actually considering the fact that like objectively they're just all good because you just have the ability to sacrifice stuff. You know,
don't get me wrong. There's bad ones, but the fact that like you're sending stuff to the grave, which is like our second hand, is just inherently very strong.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll go with. I want to say this isn't banned though. God, I really don't think this is that egregious.
Don't? Okay.
It's 3,000 attack though. I wonder how important that is. And you're saying it's not hard to get 3, because like God. Link is one monster, so yeah, you're sacrificing it, and that's pretty good recurring like every single turn, but this is like technically 4 at once, which could be just absolutely insane. Depends on the tokens that you're summoning, but I don't think I'm going to really judge the cards based on how good they are at sacrificing monsters.
It's definitely easier to link for Linkuriboh than it is for Borreload Dragon. It's not impossible to summon a Link 4 very fast, but it's obviously it requires more resources, so that's the trade-off.
I'm going to take, this is actually kind of like I'm limit testing here because I need to understand. I need to understand like how powerful this mechanic is if you need to summon 4 monsters. I'll go with it's not banned because of the reason that getting 4 monsters might be a little bit more challenging, which means it's kind of slow. But again, I'm limit testing here. Let's see what it is.
Final answer.
Yeah, final answer.
Borreload Dragon is insane because, like you said, stealing an opponent's monster is crazy. This is a unique form of removal. So, like, anything that has the text that says, can't be targeted with card effects, can't be destroyed by card effects, etc., Borreload Dragon plays around that because you steal their monster and then it sends it to the graveyard during the end phase of the next turn. So, having access to that in your extra deck is huge for when you come up against monsters. A Borreload Dragon can out an opposing Borreload Dragon because you can steal their Borreload Dragon. He doesn't target for his effect to steal, which is very funny. And funny enough, was a way when this card was first released to out your opponent's Borreload Dragon. But you are correct. This card is not banned. It has never been banned. It is a very good card. The thing is, it's just situational. You're not going to like want to always go into this card. You're really only summoning this if you need to out something big your opponent has that you don't have a way to out otherwise. Because again, if something has targeting protection, destruction protection, that's where Borreload comes in as like sort of, you know, a niche sort of card in your extra deck that's like, oh, if I come across this, I can summon Borreload Dragon to out it sort of situation. Being intargetable by monster effects is good, but it's kind of whatever. It's like, sure. And then the attack reduction can come up sometimes, but for the most part, it's kind of just like a bonus. Like, you don't really care about that for the most part. But you got it correct.
Wait. So based on what you just said, though, that means that my assumption of 4 effect monsters, technically 3, but I'll go with 4 here just to be more generic, is not a part of why this card's not played.
Yeah, it's more so that it's high investment because you need to commit a lot of resources to summon it for one. But I would say more so for this card specifically, it's just you only summon it when you need to out something your deck otherwise wouldn't be able to out. So you're not like always just going to play a Borreload Dragon just to like play a Borreload Dragon. Like in Hearthstone, if you have an 8-drop and you're on turn 8, you're going to want to like play the 8-drop, right? Where this, it's like it's situational where you want to play it. You're not just going to like turn 1 summon Borreload Dragon. That's just like bad. That doesn't do anything for you.
Okay.
So it's just more of like a Swiss Army knife tool in your extra deck that can help you get out of some sticky situations, let's say. And so because of that, it's not like giga oppressive or anything. It's just like a good card generally. Borreload Dragon has seen tons of play. It's a good card, but no one ever complained about this card being in the game, if that makes sense.
Okay. I'm also getting like some assumption here that you just like put one of these in your extra deck just in case you need it. Like it seems
exactly.
Okay.
You have 15 slots in the extra deck. So like if you have the room and you're like, maybe I want to have a Borreload Dragon just in case, he's kind of like, he fits that role. So you're not going to automatically put him in every deck, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. It's just like, it's interesting how much of that sounded like a tech card, but because you have this extra deck already in the game, it sounds like you just easily put it in if you're worried.
Right.
Kind of cool.
And early on, decks did because there wasn't that many like Link monsters to choose from. So like he was one of the first ones. So everyone's like, oh, this card's pretty good. I'll just play it, just in case sort of thing. But speaking of Link 4s, here's a different Link 4 monster for you to evaluate.
What the fuck is this? Dude, these monsters. Okay. Saryuja Scaldred?
Correct. You got it right.
Let's fucking go. Holy shit. Okay. 2 monsters with different names. and it's a Link 4. 2+ monsters with different names. Ooh.
Right. So again, you could use 4 you could use 4 monsters that aren't Link monsters. Each of those count as 1 material. You could use like 2 Link 2s if you wanted to. You could use a Link 3 and a regular monster. There's a bunch of different ways you can summon Saryuja. So just to give you some context. But the effect will be interesting for you to read here.
This card gains effects based on the number of materials used for its Link summon. 2+, if a monster is normal or special summoned to the zone, this card points to that monster's... Wait. If a monster or monsters is normal or special summoned to a zone, that card points to... Oh, with the arrows. Okay, yeah. That monster gains 300 attack flash defense. I was like, what the fuck you mean points to? It's pointing its finger. So I was like, what do you what do you mean? Okay, 3+, once per turn during your main phase, you can special summon 1 monster from your... 4, when this card is Link summoned, you could draw 4 cards, then place 3 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. Okay.
So for context, if you summon Saryuja with 4 materials, you get all 3 effects.
Yeah, I assumed. So I noticed that he has like an arrow pointing up. That also means like if your opponent summons one there, you get the 300 attack.
They will get the 300 boost. That is correct. Yes, some Link monsters do point up as sometimes it's beneficial for you, but sometimes it can help the opponent out as well.
Okay, I kind of like the design of this card. I do like how it's versatile.
A lot of people like Saryuja. A lot of people like Saryuja.
It's not just like this is just subjectively good. I like when, again, I talk about CGB a lot. When there's a game inside the game and you can make a decision based on that, it makes for a lot of fun. Okay, first one. If a monster is normal or special summoned to a zone, this card points to that monster gains 300 attack and defense. Probably negligible. I'm not even going to really consider it. Three different names. Once per turn during your main phase, you can special summon 1 monster from your hand. See, like that's on the verge of being like good enough just to run this card.
Okay.
Skipping your normal draws or normal summon is obviously like from playing Mo Yi, that seemed like that was one of the most important things of the game is skipping your normal summon and still having it's very good. So that's great. Also sets you up for more Link summons as well, because I guess you can chain Link cards with another. So after this is done, you can just summon another one if you really wanted to. So that's kind of good. 4 different names. When this card is Link summon, you can draw 4 cards and place 3 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck. Okay, that means 4 cards. You only gain 1 card. Well, not counting the resource of this, you just gain 1 card in your hand. You get to see 4 cards though. You get to pick for the objective best thing you need for the board. So that's not bad. I think 4 and 3 is probably a pretty substantial difference, but you're probably really okay with 3.
Now remember, this requires 2 or more monsters with different names. So that means you can use like tokens or anything else that's not an effect monster as well. So this is arguably a bit easier to summon than Borreload Dragon.
So you're basically saying with that sentence, like, you're almost guaranteed to get the 4 rather than the 3. Like
if your deck is like designed for it, yes, because there's many ways. For instance, with Linkuriboh, you could go like summon a level 1 Link into Linkuriboh. That monster might generate you like 2 tokens, so now you have 3 Link material on the field, like just from that. So any other summon gets you 4, and now you can make Saryuja. Right? I'm just giving you a hypothetical example.
Yeah. Let me ask mechanic here. If I summon this during my main phase, right? That means that with 3 different names. That means I can immediately special something immediately with like from my hand and then use that for a different Link effect or summoning effect.
Correct. Yeah, and so, that's an ignition effect, so you don't have to do it immediately when he's Link summoned. So you can choose at what point to special summon that monster.
What happens if is that a hard cap on what's the name, Saryuja, or is it like this is an individual thing and if I summon a different one, I also get that effect again?
If you summon another Saryuja from your extra deck, like say you're playing multiple, none of these effects have hard once per turn, so you can do them again.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
That's... Because I'm imagining this card is not something you want to necessarily keep on board. It almost feels like it's a bridge to a different card. Like you get the special summon, which allows you to get something else, but then you also get to draw an extra card. You get to pick that at 4. That's pretty good. And if you really want to, you can just chain this into a different one of these. Like that seems very good. Like it seems like if you can do this on turn 1, which doesn't seem like that's that much of a reach.
It's not.
Seems very good.
It's not.
I'm also starting to think that now we've done, you showed me all these. I feel like this might be the best special summon mechanic. Like this just feels like it's just too good. Could be wrong.
That's a way to look at it. Yeah.
Could be wrong. Yep. God, is that bannable? That is like a good effect. Drawing a card in your game is just so premium, and then also getting a free
drawing
special
4 cards.
Yeah, but you only get one. Like you only get one, unless.
But you're keeping the best.
Right,
hand -3, so it's not like you're only picking one of the 4. You have the rest of your hand to like dump stuff out too.
Yeah, no, I'm not going. You're 100% right. There's actually a card in Hearthstone. I should show you one time, but actually I can just say it's a card called Fracking, which is you look at the bottom 3 cards of your deck, you pick one, and you discard the other 2.
Okay,
so feel it like that's pretty similar to what this is. Yeah, like and that card actually.
Is that card good?
That card does see play.
Okay.
But it's also because of the reason that like if a card's at the bottom of your deck and the game's over before you see it, it's like that card didn't exist. So you would rather just the cards that got discarded didn't exist. They didn't matter in the context of the game. You just wanted to find the one that you needed. So it's the same effect as like this one right here. If you got to see 4, yeah, I'm drawing 4. I just need the 1 card to draw. But because you get to see 4, you get to pick the best one, which means it's at an all-time premium for drawing a card. I get what you're saying. Is that good enough to get banned? Like maybe. Like God, fuck. 4 monsters. It has the same kind of concept as like Link, where you're putting monsters in your graveyard. You also get this chains into something else. Most of the time, I'm going to assume that's your goal here. I'll say this is probably good enough to get banned. That seems like a very good effect. And like the fact is like you also still get a special summon on top of it. Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Saryuja is incredible. Absolute powerhouse of a card. I remember when it first got announced, people were losing their minds because of the draw 4, like put 3 on the bottom because you can sculpt your hand. And you figured it out, you know. There is a once per turn, but it's a soft once per turn. But if you summon multiple Saryujas, which funny enough, you can use a Saryuja as a material to summon another Saryuja. You still need 3 other guys if you want to do the draw 4 effect, but you can use it to just like keep linking off into something else. And so Saryuja is beloved by many. Lots of decks played it. Some degenerate decks also played it because they found ways to just summon this card multiple times per turn, sculpt their hand perfectly, and it resulted in some degenerate FTKs. But never banned. Saryuja is still legal. It is a very good card. It is a very strong card. It doesn't see play in every single deck, but in the decks that you can play it, it is very good, and it's a very strong card.
Okay, but why? They're killing people on the first turn. Why isn't it banned?
They banned the cards that like were the actual FTK enabler. Like this card gets you to the FTK essentially, but it's not like the main source of the issue. I also just think fundamentally this is just a very fun card. Like it has the different modes. There's just like a lot of like cool stuff with it that would be kind of sad if they banned it, to be honest. But people never really like. It's very difficult to summon like multiple Saryuja in a turn unless you're really designing a deck that's like killing your opponent on the first turn. So for the most part, I mean, I think it's like it's a very strong card, but it's not bannable. I think a lot of people would agree with that statement.
I mean, it looks good.
He's a fun card. He's any type, like, because again, like in our game, we don't get to draw cards often. So the fact you just get to like say draw 4, it's very fun. It's a very rewarding card to play for sure.
This one is
right, next up.
Like the line of banned versus not banned seems so close. It's like, I don't know. God, okay. Summon Sorceress. 2 monsters with the same type except tokens. And like the type
so
is
a bit
like
more restrictive on this type. Yeah, so she's a spellcaster. So for instance, you need 2 spellcasters or 2 warriors or 2 kind of like how you have like your tribes in Hearthstone. It'd be like 2 Murlocs, right? I
thought it was gonna be like the dark wind, all that stuff. So I'm glad you clarified that.
No, that's attribute. That's attribute.
Okay.
Yeah. And she is a Link 3. So you do need at minimum 2 monsters to make her. So it could be a Link 2 and anything, or 3 monsters of the same type. There are multiple ways to get into her.
If this card is Link Summon, you can special summon 1 monster from your hand in defense position to your opponent's zone this card points to. You could target 1 face-up monster this card points to, special summon 1 monster from your deck in defense position of the same type as that monster to a zone that this points to, but negate its effects. You can only use the effect of summon sources once per turn. Okay, what? Hold on. If this card is Link Summoned, you could special summon 1 monster from your hand in defense position to your opponent's zone this card points to. So like the one above it. You could target 1 face-up monster this card points to. Special summon 1 monster from your... Okay, so I'm gonna assume in the way that this effect reads is like you're putting a monster on your opponent's side to summon a different monster on your opponent's side that you can abuse.
Well, you're summoning the monster to your field with the second effect. The first effect, you give your opponent something. The second effect, you can... anything it points to. It doesn't have to be the thing you gave them if you use that effect. That is an optional effect. So if you're pointing to something else on your field, you can just ignore the first effect entirely.
But could I swap? No, I guess I can. I can't. I was hoping I could swap the monster I gave to my opponent for something else so I could abuse that, but I guess I can't.
I mean, there are cards that could maybe do that, potentially.
Let's see, like, if I wonder in Hearthstone how good that effect would be if I could summon a monster from my opponent and then I could do something with that. Because there are monsters in Hearthstone that are like, creatures in Hearthstone that are like, whenever this minion takes damage, deal that amount of damage to your opponent's hero. And there have been ways that you can OTK your opponent using an effect like that. But obviously it requires setup.
There are other cards in Yu-Gi-Oh that you can give to your opponent on their field that has like a negative downside for them controlling it. So there are things you can do with that. Sure.
I don't know how good. That wasn't very convincing though, the way you said it. So I don't know if that's really what you're going for here. Okay. You can target one face-up monster this card points to. Special summon one monster from your deck and defenses on the same type as that monster. Okay, so you're using this to basically draw a card from your deck and summon it immediately. But negate its effects. You're just summoning like what, a big meatball? Or oh wait, what if you're summoning something to sacrifice it for something else? You just need a very specific monster.
Okay.
You don't care if it doesn't have effects. You'd rather just have it to summon something else.
You're talking about bridging up into higher link monsters. Maybe this is a way to do that.
Okay, is that good? Like probably. You also draw the card and immediately summon it. That seems pretty good. So I guess
I'll give you a bit of help. I'll give you a bit of help. Just because it says negate its effects, if it goes to the graveyard, that's no longer in effect. So any graveyard effects still trigger if you were to like link it off for something else.
Okay. So that seems pretty good. I would have assumed that the effects would have just basically been gone. But
it's only while it's on the field. It's only
silence while it's on the field. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, again, this is so hard because it's like, I literally just said like the line between banned and not banned here is ridiculously close because it's like this could be so abusable. It's insane.
Okay.
And obviously,
so then VV gets banned, right?
Yeah. See, like now that you say that though, it's like, is it like, I don't know. Like I'll go ban. I feel like that's pretty good. Like that definitely enables you to do probably some gross things. The fact that you don't even have to draw the card you're looking for. So sure, I'll go ban. That's a good effect.
But she's so cute. Are they going to ban her? Like, look at her.
Listen, Yu-Gi-Oh probably has a ton of anime waifus for everyone. So I'm not worried about the art here.
That's fair. That's fair. And you would be correct, Rarin. Summon Sork is very abusable. There were so many degenerate decks that would play this card that they had to ban this card. It's still banned today. They're probably never going to bring this card back. It is just... Wait, they may have errated this card. Now that I think about it, there might be like a much worse version of it that exists. But in this current state that I showed you, this card is... Anytime a card says like get something from the deck, and it's not like within a certain archetype that you just have free reign, there are so many ways to abuse this. So sometimes you can give your opponent a monster if you need to, but most of the time you'd have another monster that she's already pointing towards. That's the type that you need to summon whatever you need out of your deck, and then you can keep comboing off from there. She's just a way to keep extending your combos to keep doing crazy shit, and as such, she's way too good, and so she had to get banned. She was so good. She was such a broken card.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very
nice.
You got that one. All right. Let's see what you think about this guy.
Knightmare Gryphon. 2+ monsters with different names. Okay. If this card is link summon, you can discard one card, then target one spell/trap card in your graveyard, set it to the field, but cannot be activated this turn. Did your opponent get to see what you picked?
Yes, they get to see.
Then if this is in your graveyard, set it to your... Sorry, I gotta zoom in. Set it to your field. Wait, hold on. Oh my god, I'm reading the same line again. I'm just gonna start over again just for the sake of this. If this card is link summoned, you can discard one card and then target one spell/trap card in your graveyard. Set it to your field, but it cannot be activated this turn. Then if this card was co-linked, so like what, 2 monsters?
So co-linked means that the arrows you see have to be pointing towards one another. So if Knightmare Gryphon hypothetically is in your extra monster zone, something would need to be pointing up towards it to be co-linked.
Okay, so hold on. You're gonna have to clarify one thing then. In the middle, there's those 2 monsters. If it's pointing to the right and there is another link monster, that they're not co-linked because they're not like attached because there's like a bigger gap. Is that
correct? They have to be like directly on the board attached. So if you look at Saryuja has the up arrow. If Saryuja was played under Knightmare Gryphon, they would be considered co-linked.
Okay, I got you. Okay. If the card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. Okay. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Gryphon once per turn. Special summon monsters on the field cannot activate their effects unless they are linked.
So linked is different from co-link. Linked just means any arrow is pointing towards that monster. It doesn't need another arrow pointing in the same direction. So that counts effect monster. So if Knightmare Gryphon's pointing towards any monster, it doesn't have to be a link monster, just anything, that means that it is not affected by the final effect because it is linked to that monster, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. I gotta... 2 monsters with different names.
It is a link 4, though, so it is big.
Let me go through this text again one at a time. You can discard 1 card, then target 1 spell/trap card in your grave. Okay, here's a question. If I discard a spell/trap card, can I set that one on the field?
So the card you discarded?
Yeah, the card I discarded. Can I just set that?
As long as you had any other spell or trap card in the graveyard, that would be a legal activation. If that was the only spell or trap you're discarding, and like you have no others, then you're not allowed to do that. That is a very
okay. I actually have no idea how good that is because regardless, like you're only going 1 for 1 there. You could just play it, like you don't have to discard it. So
sure. Exactly.
I guess it's like you really want to get the spell or trap card back. I'm going to assume that's the way you want to do it because otherwise, like, yeah, my logic makes sense there. So you don't go -1 a card, but that doesn't sound very good. Okay. Then if this was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. Okay. So position wise, you need to be co-linked. If you are co-linked, even if you discard the thing in your hand, you are going up 1 card because you technically played the thing in your hand. So that's not the worst thing in the world. You do get to draw a card.
Yeah, you're breaking even if you just use the first part of the effect, but then if it's co-linked, you actually plus because then you draw a card as well.
Okay, I don't know how good that really is, but drawing a card in Yu-Gi-Oh is very strong. In Hearthstone, I don't think I would really care. You can only use this effect of Knightmare Gryphon once per turn. That's fine. That's probably for the best. Special summon monsters on the field cannot activate their effects unless they are linked. That line of text is extremely interesting. So that means
why do you say that?
That pretty much negates every other monster that's not a linked monster, right?
Any other monster that's not linked, right? Because you could have non-link monsters that are being pointed to by a link monster, so those are also not those can still use their effects. So if Knightmare Gryphon is pointing towards any effect monster, right? Then that it still can use its effects because Knightmare Gryphon's pointing towards it.
Is it safe to assume that like every single opponent you're going to go up against is probably running one of these?
Running Knightmare Gryphon?
No,
or
like
a link monster.
A link monster. Because I'm thinking to myself, you're building this, right? You're obviously going to place it in a spot where like your monster can still activate its effects.
Sure,
but
sure.
If your opponent's not running a single link monster and their positioning is just awful because they're not like you obviously probably put this in a specific spot, like that means you're just negating every monster they have.
Correct. Yes. So to answer your question, it depends. Some decks have all link monsters because that's like what the archetype like requires. Some decks run a few link monsters because they want to, and some decks run no link monsters because maybe their archetype isn't conducive to playing them. So the answer is it depends. So against some decks, Knightmare Gryphon for that effect could be crazy because they don't have another link monster to sort of help them out. But against other decks that are playing a bunch of link monsters, maybe Knightmare Gryphon isn't as potent, if you will.
Yeah, I'm just because the first effect is obviously good because you're drawing a card. Like the more I think about it, the more I like it. The second effect is good. And the nice thing about this card is that you could do your stuff first to activate your monster's effects and then play this after. So you kind of stop your opponent from doing anything.
Yep.
Because I remember the way this works is like you could activate monster effects and then once it's played, the monster's effects are already on board. So they're already activated. So they don't get negated. Again, weird line here. Is that good enough? In Hearthstone, would that be playable? If all minions are silenced the second they're played, and obviously it's not the same because battle cries are good. Man, I don't fuck. That sounds so annoying. It might just be too slow.
Okay.
God, this is very specific. Like it's this one's like really interesting because it's very. If your opponent knows you're playing this and they can kind of play around it with positioning, like you kind of give them a gambit of like what minion they want. What minion can be activated, like that's really interesting. God, how easy is this to set? I think the last one's like infinitely better than this one, to be fair. So
okay,
I don't think this is banned. I'll go with no, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. The last one is egregious, so like it's very easy to see that's why it's banned. Is this better than Saryuja? Hold on. God, I'd rather have Saryuja, I think, and he's not banned. I'll go not banned. I'll go not banned.
Knightmare Gryphon. Knightmare Gryphon. Very, very frustrating and annoying card. So both effects on this card are extremely good. The first effect is very good because if you have a monster or an effect that can send a spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, if you're able to link it to Knightmare Gryphon, you're theoretically like searching that card with extra steps, right? Which is dangerous because you can search like a trap card that's like a floodgate that prevents your opponent from playing the game even more, in addition to Knightmare Gryphon's second effect that says special summon monsters cannot activate their effects. That card, or that part of the effect rather, is also very egregious because you can set up a board where you have multiple monsters that are like linked to one another or whatever. So your whole board is like immune to Knightmare Gryphon basically because everything's linked together. And your opponent is in a situation where they're like, well, shit, I can't play the game now because I can't activate any effects. So it's a very frustrating card on all fronts. And as such, it's banned. Knightmare Gryphon is banned.
Okay. Fair enough. That's a play pattern diff then? They just don't want that in the game?
I think it's just because it's all the reasons that Knightmare Gryphon are used for are just very oppressive. Like, it prevents the opponent from playing the game with the first effect, and it prevents the opponent from playing the game with the second effect. And so that's not very fun.
It blows my, but that's what blows my mind about this game is like, how the fuck do they print this shit? And they're like, yeah, it's probably gonna be fine.
Because money, Raren. They need money.
Yeah, but
Speaking of which, here's your next one.
Konami, just for the record, great company. Love you guys. Like you guys need to figure this shit out. If you guys need some testers, I'm sure the Yu-Gi-Oh community would be glad to help. Okay, what is this? Apollo USA. Bow of the Goddess. Bow of the Goddess. My bad.
There you go. You fixed that part. It's Apollousa.
Apollousa. I like mine more. Whatever. 2 monsters with different names sector.
To be honest.
Apollo US. You can only control one. What did you say? Apollousa? Apollousa. God, I don't like yours either. Whatever, it's fine. You can only play one of these you can only control one of these per turn. Oh, it's a legendary for Magic the Gathering. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have many of these, to be fair. We don't have many cards that say you can only control one of it.
I don't think you've shown me any card that says this. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's okay. Because Hearthstone doesn't have this either. Like that's only a Magic the Gathering thing.
When you read it, maybe you'll understand why.
Okay, you're right. The original attack of this card becomes 800 times the number of link materials used for its link summon. Quick question. I know this is like a link 4 monster, but can I sacrifice like 20 monsters for this theoretically and then make it like 80 or 800 times 20?
It has to be link 4 worth of material exactly. So you can do 4 like link 1s or like any monster, because any monster is considered 1 link material. You could do like a link 2 plus 2 other monsters, so that would equal 4 material. But you can't do like 36 monsters into this. No, that would be crazy.
Okay. Once per chain, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can make this card lose 800 attack, exactly 800 attack, and if you do, negate the activation. Okay, so you could do that 4 times. Can you go negative attack?
No, you can't.
So once you're at 0, like you can't activate this again. Once per chain, so that's like the actual like stack. Like if they play
like
max C, yeah,
correct.
Okay.
So if they go max C, you can Apollousa, and it very thematically, it's like she's shooting her arrow to like negate the effect. So she has like multiple shots in her quiver.
Yo, what the fuck? Isn't this like insane? What the hell?
Is it? I don't know.
Bro, the last card's like, hey, your monsters will be on the board. I want to stop them from getting played. This one says like they're not even getting on the board. God, is that nuts?
Well, the monsters might be on the field, but the effects are getting negated. It's not destroying the monsters, just negating the effect.
Okay, so then in other words, why would you play this one over the other one then? If I guess the other one has you can counter it by actually linking with it, which is fine. This one's like
stop max C. That's pretty good.
Max C is annoying. I do agree. That's pretty good. God, that is such an man. Like 4 times. Is so interesting. Sorry, my cat. I don't know if you hear him. He's like yelling at me.
You're fine.
For the people who don't know, I'll show you. Your audience will be the first people to see this cat. Okay. What do you think of this card?
What do you mean? What do I think of this card? They're here to hear what you think of this card.
I'm talking to my cat. I'm talking to my cat.
Oh.
He says he hates Maxi. Fucking piece of shit. I think this is good. Like I want this effect in my game. God, is it like, again, it's this weird line of like, is it I like how you thought I was asking you. Sorry, I'm thinking about that. Is this like a weird line of banned, not banned? It's really good. I'd be annoyed to play against it. Is it as egregious? Like, you're telling me Gryphon's banned because it's just a horrible play experience. Is this not the same vein? Maybe, but maybe not. Like, I don't think it's a... Oh, this game. Oh.
Maybe there's a reason to put these back to back.
The ability to stop Max C. How good is that? That's like the best thing in the world.
To be fair, they're gonna max C you before you get Apollousa on the board. So
yeah, this is guard. This is guard. You know what? Not bad. You know, you're so right. They just played it before. You're actually so right. I'd rather have Knightmare Gryphon, where apparently you just stop everything unless they're linked. This is like one per chain. What if they just chain everything on one go? Like, then what? Then you're just crying.
They could hypothetically.
If this is on board, like I would just keep the chain going if I absolutely need to. I think that's not bad. I feel like you can kind of play around that or play with this, I guess.
This card's fucking crazy. Apollousa is nuts and is very banned. Actually, to be fair, they just recently banned Apollousa within like the past few ban lists, but it was a long time coming. This card's so frustrating because similar to Gryphon, but in a different way. If you're going first and you are able to summon an Apollousa like very early on, sure, they might max C you, but like let's ignore that, right? Because in the TCG, we don't actually have max C, so that's not something we have to worry about. Master Duel, you do. But if you summon Apollousa very early on, you now have insulation from all of your opponent's hand traps because it doesn't care where the effect is being activated from as long as it's a monster effect. So if your opponent has Ash Blossom or Nibiru or any of like the hand traps that like allow you to like play the game, Apollousa just says, nope, just shoot it. And it's like, it's gone. It's like you wasted the card basically. So it's very annoying to play against. But then even if you don't have hand traps, if your opponent makes a 4-material Apollousa, it has 3,200 attack and can negate 4 effects as long as they're not in the same chain. That is just fucking absurd because that's just one card in addition to what else you could have on your board. So she's actually one of like like she's a very early Link monster, but she was basically just like broken from the start. And everyone's like, this card is just like not okay. Very frustrating card to play against. And you can even if you just make a 2-material Apollousa, like there's a world where you go like summon Sorceress, summon a guy, and now you can just make a 2-material Apollousa. That's still 2 monsters that Apollousa can negate, right? In addition to anything else that your deck is able to do. Very, very frustrating card to play against. Very happy that this card is banned. I think it's still legal in like Master Duel, but like completely different formats.
Why,
so it's hard to say. But
why
this
did
card,
they ban it now,
very
though?
impressive.
What took them so long? What was the difference?
Great question. If I could ask Konami that question, I would. But honestly, I have no fucking clue. Apollousa's basically like always been a staple card in combo decks for like since it was printed, just because it's so powerful. It is such a good card. They also printed it in higher rarities, so maybe they didn't want to ban it so they could like sell more copies of it. Hard to say. But
wait, what do you mean by higher rarities? Like,
we had a new rarity called Starlight Rare, and that was like very expensive. It was like Starlight Rare copies of Apollousa went for like $800 plus because she was that playable and that highly coveted. So like there's an argument that like on the financial side, they wanted to like make their money off of this card because it was the highest rarity in the set. Otherwise, very, very good card. And so I don't know why it took so long for them to ban it, to be honest, because this card like should have been banned like years ago. I'll be straight up with you.
Damn, we should have recorded this video like before it was banned. I was so close.
We could have. It was possible. All right, only a few left. I got some interesting ones to show you here at the end. So let's see what you think about this one.
God damn, man, this is so difficult. Like there's nothing similar like this at Hearthstone, dude, because like nothing's on this line. Like this is okay.
Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! There's nothing like Yu-Gi-Oh! In any other game.
What are these names, by the way? IP, what is this? Masquerena?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Link monsters, they released a new type of monster called Cyberse, which is what Masquerena actually is, as a matter of fact. The Cyberse archetype is very much like, it's very like, it has to do with like coding and like a lot of like digital like type of stuff. So that's why like Land for Linkus was like LAN, right? IP Masquerena, like an IP address. They very much like play into like the whole like internet theme, if you will. That's kind of like the Cyberse.
Give me like the elevator like pitch of like what the lore of these like things is. Like why does this exist in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe compared to like these
I don't fucking know. I didn't watch this anime.
What the hell, man? Okay, that's fine. Okay. 2 non-link monsters. During your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect immediately after this effect resolves. Link summon one. Wait, immediately after this. So you're using the quick effect to resolve an effect on this card. I'm assuming.
Right. So how this would work is like you would say, during your opponent's turn, because it says during your opponent's main phase, I will activate IP Masquerena. Do you have a response? If they say no, then the effect resolves, and then the rest of what you're about to read happens. They can respond to that before anything happens, though. So that's why it says it that way.
Okay, so what if they have like an ash or something they don't want you to do, they just ash you, and then you're
or like whatever, like to disrupt it potentially. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, immediately after this effect resolves, Link summon one Link monster using materials you control, including this card. You can only use this effect of IP Masquerena once per turn. Link monster that used this card as material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. Oh, that's so fun. Wow.
It's neat, right?
Wow, can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Wow, that is so fun and exciting. Does that mean like oh God, I always forget it. There's that dude that you can like sacrifice your opponent's monsters to summon a monster for them. Does that also count for that?
That still works. No, because you're tributing their monster to do that, so that still works. But like anything that says destroy like a monster, that won't work. But it can still be killed by battle, so keep that in mind. Yeah,
but how much do you fucking care about that? Like I feel like again, when you bring up attack, I'm like, who cares? Like we're not playing this game for the attack stat here.
You're not. Sure. No, for the most part, no. You're correct.
So that means that ability is disgusting, and that is on the verge of just being to your opponent like good luck. Like you probably just lost the game if the monster's strong enough. And like there's
imagine going IP Masquerena, link off into Apollousa, so now you have effect negates and it can't be killed by destruction effects.
God, this game's awesome, man. This game's awesome. Okay, now how much of a bait is this, to be honest, though? Like, is that
how much of a bait is it? Great question.
Because like,
is that the dream?
I inherently like I already know this is like in my mind. I'm like, this is dumb. If this was in Hearthstone, it would be so unfun to play against. It'd be insane. Because like there's everything destroys your opponent's monsters. There's like barely any ways to interact with it. That, like just erases it from the game.
And so you talked about the waifus. Look how cute she is.
Yeah, but I'm like, who fucking cares? Yugi's got bare bitches probably. I don't think he cares about these specifically, unless you're talking about the fan base, which again, there's probably infinite. Is it like Dark Magician Girl, like #1 waifu? We don't have to go into this.
Yep.
That's a different video.
That's a different video. Yeah.
God, inclination is banned. Banned.
Okay.
Is there any way I wouldn't say it's banned? Maybe it's just not as good. Maybe it's like whatever. Fuck it. This is played. Okay. You counter it. Like
okay.
And it has to be. I mean, like, what does this card do if you're not getting the effect? Like, you're just using it for a link summon? You can just do better. So, you know what? I'm gonna say it's not banned. Okay. I think if you're gonna play this, your opponent's gonna respond. Go. Yep.
Masquerena, the play that I said with like just making an Apollousa that can't be destroyed was a real play, because you just have to take her and any other monster or monsters, and you can just make an Apollousa that can't be destroyed. There's other cards you can make as well to interact on the opponent's turn, as a matter of fact. There's a cool card that it's actually a Knightmare. You remember Knightmare Gryphon. Knightmare Unicorn says when it's link summoned, you can discard a card to shuffle a card your opponent controls back into their deck. So normally you can only do that during your turn, but IP Masquerena allows you to do that during the opponent's turn. So you can use these powerful link effects sort of at quick effect speed when otherwise you wouldn't be able to. So IP Masquerena would be a part of like people's like opening play. So then that like when their opponent tries to interact with them, they can like forcibly use the IP, summon out whatever they have to like disrupt their opponent's board, whether it's with Apollousa, Knightmare Unicorn, whatever. But you are correct, Raren. She is not banned. She's just a very good card.
God.
She's a very good card. Sees tons of play, and she's fine. Like I think she's very pushed, don't get me wrong, especially because she makes stuff unable to be destroyed by card effects. It's kind of annoying, but she's not like the biggest issue, right? It's like between Apollousa and Masquerena, Apollousa's the problem, right? Masquerena just is like an enabler, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
But she's a very fun card. There's also fun counterplay too, because you have to use her during the main phase specifically. So hypothetically, if your opponent says, summon a monster, enter battle phase, your opponent has to decide in that moment before they go to the battle phase if they want to use IP Masquerena. Otherwise, I could just attack over Masquerena. She only has 800 attack, so she is kind of weak. So there is like interesting counterplay with her as well. But very cool card. It's cool being able to link on the opponent's turn. There's like very few cards that actually let you do that. So neat card.
Okay. Nice. Thing evaded. Let's go.
You're back on the board. All right, we got a few left. Let's see the thing with this guy.
Okay, Accesscode Talker. Oh god, I gotta zoom in here. Hold on. 2 effect monsters. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's act. Okay. Okay, let me just mentally prepare myself for what I'm gonna go through as a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Okay. If this card is Link Summoned, you could target one Link monster that was used as a Link material. This card gains attack equal to that monster's Link rating times 1,000. Oh God. You could banish one Link monster from your field or graveyard to destroy one card your opponent controls. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot banish monsters with the same attribute to activate this effective Accesscode Talker. Can I banish monsters with the same attribute? Cybers, right? Or is it dark?
No, top right corner, dark. So
Dark.
hypothetically, if you banish a dark monster to pop something, you can't banish another dark monster for his effect. But there are 6 attributes in Yu-Gi-Oh! So hypothetically, you could banish 6 cards to pop 6 cards. If like, you know, you're
that's fucked up. No. You're using four monsters for this to begin with, like probably. No, that's not bad. Like that's fucked up. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's so much better than what Apollo USA. That is nuts. Yep.
Final answer.
I don't need to read I don't even need to have a conversation. Your opponent can activate cards or effects in response to this card's effects. Nah.
Correct.
No, yep. It's bullshit. No, it's banned.
He's legal.
What?
You're wrong. He's legal. Yep.
Why is that legal?
So Accesscode Talker's what we call finisher. So basically this is a card where when you see lethal, especially because Accesscode Talker can make its attack like insane, like basically you're going to probably get 2,000 or 3,000 extra attack off of it. It's very rare you get 4 because you're not going to really use a Link 4 monster to summon this. But basically, let's say you use a Link 3 monster and any other monster. That's Link 4 worth of material. You can then target that, so then you get 3,000 attack, so he's 5,300. And then you could banish any Link monsters in your graveyard to pop your opponent's board, and then just go in for 5,300 damage and kill them. Notably, it's not lethal, so like you do have to do some damage to them in other ways if you want to actually kill them off. But Accesscode Talker, usually when it hits the board, you know the game is over because you can't interact with it. For the most part, there's like some windows you can interact with it, but it's very few. When you see this card, you're basically dead. Like, you know the game is over, essentially. But it's not banned. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm kind of shocked by it too, because I am very much not a fan of the text that says your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's effect activation. I think that's just a very poor design because, like, you want card games to be interactive. So the fact that, like, you can't do anything to this guy aside from, like, a very small window is very frustrating. And so very strong card, but yeah, not banned. I'm surprised too, to be honest. I think people are like in both camps on this card. I think a lot of people want this card banned, and a lot of people think it's fine. I just don't think it's healthy. I genuinely don't think it's healthy. So your reaction is like what I expected.
You're telling me they just have a dartboard and they're just throwing it. They're like, it's not this one. Next one for sure.
That's the Konami ban philosophy. If I've ever heard it. That's for sure.
That shit, like if this is translated to Hearthstone, it was like for each tribe or whatever. I don't know what the equivalent of attribute would be for Hearthstone, but let's go with each tribe. Each tribe that's in your graveyard or whatever, I wouldn't play the game anymore. Like it would be so easy for this to just be so egregious. Like it would not be a fun game. So I am shocked.
I am too. Like I said, I don't think it's like when you're the one playing it, you feel like you're a god, right? Because like your opponent can't do anything. But is that fun? It's, debatable, right?
Winning is fun. People would argue that winning is.
People
fun.
Like to win. People do like to win. So, all right, couple left. They only get crazier.
Okay, well, I mean, at this point, it's just a fucking 50-50 if they're banned.
It's always a 50-50, Raren.
It's like, 50/50. Let's just legit. I'm flipping a coin. I'm just going to flip a coin for the next one. I just hope for the best. Underworld Goddess of the Closed Worlds. Okay. 4 effect monsters. You can also use one monster your opponent controls as a material to link summon this card. Okay. If this card is link summoned, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. The link summoned card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects, unless they target this card. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that special summons a monster from the graveyard, quick effect, you can negate this activation. I'm sorry, hold on. What the fuck? You can also use one monster your opponent controls as a material to link summon this card. That's already probably insane. If this card is link summoned, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. That is disgusting. This link summon card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. This link summon card is unaffected by your opponent's card activated. Okay, hold on.
So they have to target it if they want to do anything to it. essentially. It's the opposite of you can't target it. It's like you can target it. That's the only thing that will work against it.
Okay, sure. Okay. I see what you're saying. Let's check out this card. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that special summons a monster. Okay, bro, like what? All arrows point to banned here. God, the first sentence is just so that's just so miserable.
Yeah, so hypothetically, let me set the stage for you. Let's say your opponent has a monster, and it could be something, it could be like an Apollousa, right? That's like unaffected by everything. So let's say they have an Apollousa, and let's say you have 4 other monsters on the field somehow. You link off all of those monsters, your 4 and their Apollousa, and you play Underworld Goddess.
And can they like negate that from happening, or is that like...
That is a summon similar to the kaiju where you like tribute over your opponent's monster to remove their monster. This is a summoning mechanic, so they cannot respond to it.
Jesus Christ.
They would have to look at the board and see, I can get Underworld Goddess here. I like have to like react with some quick effect or something. I mean, that's the only way that they can like interact with it.
Okay, just give me a quick second here. Google, flip a coin. Hold on. Okay. If the last one's not banned, and okay, now let me evaluate this. It's the same amount of link, pretty much, if I consider the fact that one of them is from your opponent, and that's honestly
one is your opponent's. Yeah.
One is that's a benefit. Like my opponent's gonna suffer, and I get to go ahead. Like that is insane. Like if Accesscode Talker isn't banned, how would this one be banned? I mean, oh my God, the first sentence is just so illegal. It's so illegal. And like, it's so annoying. And even if they get rid of...
better for you?
What's that? Why were you gonna do?
Remember IP can link on the opponent's turn?
Yeah, that's not fair. Again, it's a marvel how this game is still kicking.
Yep, I agree.
Listen, honestly, like if the last... I'm gonna go with banned. You could honestly, what I should have just done for this video, just say banned is for every single one, and then like... That's fair.
To be fair, a lot of Link monsters are banned. All
the people in the comments would have been like, yo, no, he's making some points. He's cooking. Like, it's not like it's even close here. So, I'll go with ban. Yeah, dude. It seems good.
Goddess is fine. She's legal.
This is a joke. This game's a joke. Like, what are we doing here?
So, Goddess actually is interesting because it creates this dynamic where, because you know she's in the game, you don't know if your opponent has Goddess in the extra deck unless they summon it on you like in a previous game, if you're playing a match best 2 out of 3, right? So she creates this interesting dynamic where it's like, if you're in a situation where your opponent can Goddess you, it creates that mind game where it's like, oh shit, if like they have Goddess in their extra deck, I get fucked here. But if they don't have it, I'm fine. You have to make that decision as the player as to like whether or not you want to try to play around it, if you can play around it at all. And so, similar to like Borreload Dragon at the beginning of the video, she's kind of situational because you need to be in a situation where you have a bunch of things on the field and your opponent has something that you want to get rid of with Goddess to be able to summon her. So she's as good as she is, and she's very good. Don't get me wrong. She's very niche in terms of like when she does come up. But when she does come up, usually she like wins the game on the spot if you summon her. So very, very strong card. But again, very, very niche and like very format dependent if you'd actually like play her in your extra deck as like one of your like tech utility tools.
See, like that is, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. You know,
I think I've broken you. I think I've broken you.
Why am I getting mad at this game? I don't even play it. Like, why
you don't even play it. You don't. All right.
Like,
last card. Last card. This card is fucking cool. I think this like would be a Hearthstone card if it isn't already. This card's fucking sick.
Okay. Nice art. Big guy. World Sea. Oh god, what is this name? Dragon Zelantis. That sounds
cool. There you go. You got it.
One effect monster. You can only control one of these at a time. Okay, so another legendary thing. Okay, you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. During your main phase, you can banish all monsters on the field, then special summon as many monsters as possible that were banished by this effect to their owner's field. Okay. I was gonna be like, is that on your side? So
you almost blew a gasket. Like, you almost. I heard it.
Yeah, I was like, face up or face down defense vision. Okay, so you can also pick the position, which is cool. During the battle phase, quick effect, you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of cooling monsters on the field. Hearthstone does not really have an effect like this.
Okay.
Let me think this through for a second. Do they?
There's no effect that like removes everything from the field and then like resummons it to the field.
Not really. Like, not like this.
To
like
be fair, this was new for Yu-Gi-Oh too. Like, this was like the first time we'd ever had an effect like this.
The best example I can give you is like Yogg in the Box, where it's like it would destroy the board, and then maybe you resummon monsters on your side of the field because you're just casting like random ass spells. Like, that's probably the closest we're getting here. I don't think maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, usually with Hearthstone, because of the fact that it's like you do your turn, I do my turn, it's usually like a one-sided thing, for example.
Okay.
So like
sure.
N'Zoth the Corruptor would just like summon a bunch of Death Rattles on your side. Like, that's like the closest.
Okay.
Thing. Like, it's
sure.
really
we have
rare.
stuff like that too.
Okay, one effect monster for the one plus effect monster, but it's obviously Link Thor. So like, holy shit, is this thing one?
That's very notable because this was the first card that you could take a Link 4 monster and just link it into this because it only requires one monster minimum. And I'm very rare to see that.
Wait a minute.
Is he cooking?
So that means this is like you know how we were talking about like bridging earlier. You're bridging to this motherfucker. This is the guy. Okay, interesting. Now, is that good enough to do? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Banish all monsters, which means they don't go to the graveyard, and then you can decide which ones you bring back. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, weird question for you. If I banish this wait, is this once per turn? Can I do that again? Is this a card by card basis, or is this like a global thing? Like, if I get rid of this off the board, am I allowed to use that effect again if I need to like
no,
banish
because it is a hard once per turn. It says you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. So if you bring him back, but for anything with a soft once per turn, you would be allowed to use that effect again.
God, that's fucked. So I finally actually thought about what is the closest thing to like these activatable effects, and you were there for like you've reviewed them, which is the Titans in Hearthstone.
Sure.
Where it almost works one-to-one with that. One of the things that people would do is like summon a copy of the Titan so you can use that effect multiple times in a turn. And obviously that, like, depending on which one it is, very good. That's kind of the same thing here.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
But Yu-Gi-Oh's like, oh my god, this fucking... Okay, I'm trying to think of myself, how good would that be? You can destroy cards on the field to the number of co-linked monsters. Okay, you're not mechanically I should know this, but I'm gonna ask it again just in case. If let's say my opponent activates a monster effect and I quick effect in response, does that means that my thing would go first and they don't actually get to use their effect, or does the effect still go off even if I destroy the effect or the card? Sorry.
It depends on the card, but for the most part, even if you destroy the card, the effect will still resolve, so it doesn't stop the effect from going off if it's already on the chain. Okay, so like this is good for the first effect. The second effect is not nearly as powerful. Because you want to, you would want to just get your monsters back so they can use their effect again. I think that's what I'm going for. Okay. Basically. Is that good? Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's pretty good. But if the last two are, I don't think this is as bad. Sorry, as good as the other two effects. So I'll say it's not bad. Good card, but I don't think it's gonna be bad. Here we go. It is banned for the following reasons. Featuring Cimoooooooo. Let's go. All right. So Zelantis was very hyped, because it has like one of the most unique effects in Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's banishing everything to resummon them. Some things that you may have missed with this, and that's okay, is that you actually get to choose where the monsters go on the board. So for that second effect about things being co-linked, you can rearrange where your monsters are positioned. That actually makes it like easier for you to like co-link things together. Or if there's like other effects that if there's like other reasons to move things in particular zones to get some sort of effect or to do something, that is very good. Not to mention, you can also choose to put the stuff in face up or face down defense position. So hypothetically, like there are ways that like you can stop your opponent from like doing things, or like maybe it like shuts things off because it's like there's an effect active, and then if you set it face down, the effect is no longer active because it's the monster's face down. So the effect isn't currently in play or anything like that. Because of the fact as well that it's a Link 4 that only requires one monster, it's very easy to just go and take your big Link 4s that like maybe you already like expended in Apollousa or something, right? Now you can just link into Zelantis and get like a big guy back out of it that also has like a lot of upside. So there's like there's a lot of like just really cool like fun little tricks you can do with Zelantis. He enabled a bunch of like OTKs as a result of this as well. There's also the fact that like you can reset your once per turn effects on it, because like I said, when you're banishing everything and resummoning them, it's considered like they weren't on the field the first time. So like you can use those effects again as long as they're not hard once per turns. Very, very interesting and cool card, but never banned. Never banned. This card is like totally fine. So you did get it right. And yeah, that's the story of Zelantis. Just a very, very like interesting. Like I would say people think Zelantis is very balanced. There's like a lot of, it does require a lot for you to go into it. It does enable some things that arguably could be like, you know, considered degenerate, but I wouldn't say so. Like enabling an OTK, so many things enable OTKs, like whatever. But I think it's like mechanically, I think it's one of the coolest designs on a card that they've done, like in recent memory.
It is cool. I'd agree. It's cool.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like refreshing your monster's abilities.
Right. Like imagine you could replay, like you have battle cry effects and you play as Zelantis in Hearthstone and now you get to replay those battle cries, right? Like that's kind of like the thing you could do with this. Like there's just a lot of like really neat, something degenerate you can do actually is that if you have an effect that your opponent can't special summon monsters like of a certain like attribute or type or whatever, and you like Zelantis them, you can get all your stuff back and they don't get their stuff back. So like that's very stupid that you could do stuff like that too.
Is there
it's very gross.
Is there a card in Yu-Gi-Oh? So I think I've showed you Shutterwalk before, which is like repeat all battle cries you played this game. Is there an effect like that in Yu-Gi-Oh where it's like repeat all monsters effects you played this game? Because
there's no way to like track that, right? Because it's not in a digital space. So I don't think we have anything like that.
God, could you imagine though? Like this card would be like, you do all these monster effects, you play this, you play your Shutterlock equivalent, then all of a sudden it's doing it again. But like maybe that's just overkill for your game. You probably don't need that. Like that's just.
I mean, everything in Yu-Gi-Oh is overkill, right? I mean, you saw your reaction to Accesscode Talker.
Like, oh my God, I couldn't even. Yeah, let me just do everything I did to you again, even though the game's already over, dude. Hold on.
Basically.
Yeah, I get it. That's cool. Oh my God.
So what do you think of Link Monsters? What do you think?
I love Yu-Gi-Oh. It's not paid by Konami. No, cool facts. Now I understand why they made the new game. What is it, like Duel Monsters or whatever? The app.
Duel Links.
Duel Links.
Yeah, that's very old. And but it's funny because they've been adding a lot of the summoning mechanics to Duel Links, so it's not even like the simple version of it anymore.
But they made that game when this came out though, right? Like Link summoning, like that was the idea, right? Surely, Kobe.
Maybe Duel Links is pretty old now. I want to say Duel Links is like 10 years old.
Does Konami think anything through, or am I just like, you know what? I love Konami. Big fans.
Yeah. I will say though, like a lot of people, Link summoning is very polarizing because a lot of people love it in the sense that it's like the most freeing mechanic in the sense that like with synchro monsters, you need a tuner. With Xyz monsters, they have to be the same level. Fusion summoning, you need to have the card to like perform the action, right? Link summoning is the most open-ended, where it really is just depending on whatever it says on the card in order to link summon, right? And that's really cool. But a lot of people hate that because it's almost too generic, and as a result of that, makes it so that there's a lot of degeneracy surrounding it. I think it's just like a very elegant mechanic, even though it is very broken in a lot of different ways.
No, I agree. I think it's probably the easiest one to wrap your head around too, like because it's
exactly
so which is probably what they're going for.
Right, which I always have the stance that if they released Link summoning first before all of the other mechanics, I actually think people would feel a lot better about it comparatively. Just because it's like the easiest one to grasp, because especially after learning all the other summoning mechanics, right? Like you pick this up fairly easily. The arrow thing is like kind of different, but aside from that, it's so easy to just be like, oh, I have 2 monsters. I get rid of them, play a guy, right? It's super simple and intuitive.
Yeah, but it's, I guess like maybe they tried it earlier on and then they realized it was too broken. Or I don't know, maybe they were waiting. It's an interesting conversation to see, like, were they waiting for the right power level for this to come out because they knew the game was going to get only more and more powerful after they made the decision of never rotating? I don't know.
Well, it aligned with the latest season or one of the later seasons of like the anime, right? Like Yugi and them are like gone. They're on to like newer like protagonists and stuff. So like this was like the summoning mechanic like for that anime. And so that was like
they could have done that earlier though, right? There's no reason they could have just been like.
That's true.
Like,
yeah, but it could have also been just how like it could have been like how they wrote the anime, and because like a lot of like what Yu-Gi-Oh is corresponds to the anime, right? So when they write Link summoning or pendulum summoning, like that's what comes into the actual game because they want to sell the cards like at the same time.
Oh no, I'm saying yeah, for sure, but like they could have done like Link summoning on like season 3 if they wanted to, right? If they came
hypothetically,
I'm not saying they come up with the idea. This is a weird question. I have actually no idea if this is the case. Does Konami write the anime?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they just like publish and produce it for the most part. But that is a question that the comments will answer because I am not too familiar with the specifics. There's TV Tokyo and Shueisha. There's a lot, surrounding it. But Konami's like, at the top for the most part. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all their continued support. So shouts to Shout1317, Tim00x3, MBT Play Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Dan the Man Hoban, Little Fadeleaf, Draconic, Brian Dancer of Class 7, Dylan Rare Hunter, JW11860, Flannel Daddy, literally all of the guinea pigs, Cheeks McLapperty, Stolfin Amethyst, MBT canceled by community soon, canceled by all committees soon, canceled by all players soon, Wonder Waffle, MBT and Nimnims 1, Boxer Brief, Fueled Knight of Passion, Daniel Howell, Electrician of the Ice Barrier, Arco, and the Nova 129. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you next time.